Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are tackling a really interesting source, the crypto blueprint. And our mission here is to cut through all that noise, all the hype, and really distill the absolute critical clarity you need. We want to equip you, the learner, with, well, the real foundations.
And that's never been more vital, because we're living through this high-stakes moment where the world is fundamentally redefining money, value, and this is the big one, trust.
Right.
So this isn't just about tech anymore, it's infrastructure. And understanding it, well, it's pretty much essential, not optional.
Okay, so let's unpack that. To really get where we are now, we have to go back to the beginning. Why was Bitcoin even created in the first place? You can't talk about this without talking about 2008.
You really can't. 2008 was the ultimate breach of faith. The entire system of centralized finance, which was built on trusting these big institutions, it just crumbled.
We all saw it. Lehman Brothers collapsing.
And then the government stepping in with these massive bailouts. The message was just so clear. The risk was on you, but the cost of the cleanup was on the taxpayer.
It wasn't just a flaw in the system.
No, it was a total crisis of confidence.
And right out of that turbulence, this radical 9-page manifesto appears. Halloween 2008. This pseudonymous figure, Satoshi Nakamoto, releases the white paper, Bitcoin.
Yeah.
A peer-to-peer electronic cash system.
And it was such a radical vision. It basically proposed a world where you didn't need to trust anyone.
No banks, no intermediaries.
None. It was a direct challenge to centuries of centralized control. The solution was this brilliant piece of engineering. A transparent, trustless monetary system built purely on math, on verifiable proof.
What's so fascinating, and I think a lot of people miss this, is that it wasn't just some academic paper.
Yeah.
There was a political statement baked right into the code from day one.
Absolutely. The very first block, Block 0, mined on January 3rd, 2009, Satoshi embedded a headline from a British newspaper right into it.
What did it say?
The Times, 03 Jan 2009, Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks.
Wow.
It was a timestamp, but it was also this clear, rebellious signal of intent. This was the counter-narrative.
So the big innovation here isn't just the code, it's the shift. We're moving away from institutional promises to mathematical certainty.
Precisely. And a huge part of that certainty is digital scarcity.
The 21 million coin limit.
Exactly. Unlike fiat currency, which can be printed, endlessly by central banks, Bitcoin has a hard cap. It's enforced by the code itself.
And that's the whole digital gold idea.
It is. It's designed to be anti-inflationary. That scarcity is fundamental to its value proposition.
Okay, so we've established the why, the need for a new trust model. But let's get into the how. How does this whole decentralized idea actually work? Let's talk about the core mechanics, starting with the blockchain itself.
The best way to think about it is, well, it's less like a bank vault and more like a global shared spreadsheet.
Okay, it's a spreadsheet.
A spreadsheet that thousands of computers are constantly checking against each other. Every transaction gets broadcast to this network.
And then what happens?
Those transactions get grouped into a block. The network validates it, agrees on it, and then that block is chained to the previous one. Permanently.
So once it's written...
It's immutable. You can't go back and erase it. That distribution and immutability are what make it so secure and tamper-proof.
Got it. So that system provides the trust. But the flip side of that is personal responsibility. Which brings us to the wallet system. This is where the blueprint says you are your own bank.
And that is a statement of both incredible freedom and absolute consequence. Every user has 2 cryptographic keys. The public key is like your bank account number. It's your wallet address, totally safe to share with people so they can send you funds.
But the private key, that's the dangerous one. If I lose that, am I just sunk?
Yar. The private key is the secret proof of ownership. It's what you use to authorize sending transactions.
So I don't guess it.
They control your money. And if you lose it, there's no password reset. There's no one to call. The system is designed without a central authority. The consequence is absolute.
You keep saying being your own bank, and honestly, that sounds terrifying. We see all these headlines about hacks. What about just using a big exchange like a Coinbase? Isn't that safer?
That brings up a really critical distinction about custody. This is where so many new learners stumble. You have 2 models, custodial and non-custodial. When you use a major exchange, that's custodial. They hold the private keys for you.
Which is convenient.
Very convenient. But you're reintroducing a single point of failure. You're trusting them. And we've all seen the spectacular implosions where people's assets were just frozen or lost forever.
So not your keys, not your crypto. That's really the cardinal rule here.
It is. You're trading convenience for sovereignty. Full sovereignty means using a non-custodial wallet where you, and only you, hold the private key.
And that leads directly to the seed phrase, right? That long string of random words.
That 12 or 24 word phrase is the master recovery key. If your device is lost or destroyed, that phrase can reconstruct your entire wallet. It is the single most important piece of information you will possess in this entire space.
So the advice is basically to become a spy. Carve it into a metal plate.
That's the spirit. The absolute critical rule is to never, ever store your seed phrase digitally.
No screenshots, no email drafts.
Nothing. Any digital storage is an attack vector. The safest methods are physical. Write it down, laminate it, or yes, etch it onto a metal plate that can survive a fire.
And then hide it.
And secure it in multiple separate physical locations. If you're serious about this, you have to treat that seed phrase with more paranoia than your passport.
Okay, that security mindset is foundational. Let's shift from securing assets to strategically acquiring them. The blueprint really emphasizes that your strategy has to align with your personal goals.
And in a market that is defined by extreme volatility, risk management is everything. The source outlines 2 core strategies that help you defeat your own worst enemy.
Which is yourself. Emotional decision-making.
Exactly. The first is HODling. It's simple, but it's profoundly difficult. You buy high-conviction assets, and you commit to holding them through the massive swings.
That takes some serious emotional discipline.
It really does. The second, more automated strategy is dollar-cost averaging, DCA.
Right, investing a fixed amount regularly.
You invest a fixed amount of money, say $100 every Friday, no matter what the market is doing. It forces discipline. It smooths out your entry price over time so you avoid the classic mistake of putting all your money in at the absolute peak.
It's a great risk management tool for sure.
Absolutely. DCA basically institutionalizes discipline, and that is invaluable.
But how do we move beyond just the big names like Bitcoin? How do you actually evaluate a new project and look past the hype? This is where tokenomics comes in.
Tokenomics is the economic blueprint of a crypto asset. It tells you everything, how it's created, distributed, used. It's the difference between investing in a real project and just funding a marketing campaign.
So what's the first thing to look for? Supply mechanics.
You start with max supply versus circulating supply. Is the asset deflationary like Bitcoin's 21 million cap? Or is it inflationary like Dogecoin, where new coins can be created endlessly, potentially diluting the value? A fixed supply is a huge pillar of value.
Then you look at utility. What does the token actually do?
Yes, utility is key. Is it just for voting? Or is it required to access a service or pay fees on the network? A token with real embedded utility has a reason to exist beyond pure speculation.
Okay, now let's talk about the red flags, because this seems to be where people can get burned.
You have to scrutinize the initial distribution, a huge pre-mined supply that's allocated to founders and insiders. That's a potential red flag.
Especially if there aren't strong vesting schedules, right? Can you just explain what vesting is for our learner?
Of course. Vesting just means those big early allocations are locked up. They can't be dumped on the market right away. Maybe they're locked for a year and then released slowly over the next 2 or 3 years. It aligns the incentives of the founders with the long-term success of the project.
So there's no vesting.
If the founders can cash out immediately, it tells you their priority might be a quick payday, not building something that lasts. Tokenomics is your due diligence on a project's financial integrity.
All right, let's zoom out to the big picture now, the global scale of this whole thing. The source material cites the total market cap at over $3 trillion, over 450 million global users. This is not a fringe experiment anymore.
Not at all. And that scale has, of course, attracted the attention of governments, which leads to this incredibly complex global regulatory landscape.
Let's start with the European Union. They seem to be ahead of the curve.
The EU is trying to create clarity with their MiCA framework markets and crypto assets. It's comprehensive. It covers licensing for exchanges, reserve requirements for stablecoins. It's a real legal framework for companies to operate in.
Now, contrast that with the U.S., which the blueprint calls a patchwork approach.
Yeah, the U.S. is defining the rules mainly through enforcement and court battles. You have this big debate between the SEC, which sees many tokens as securities, and the CFTC, which sees them as commodities. That uncertainty makes it really hard for institutions to get involved.
And then you have a place like India, which has huge adoption, but pretty punitive taxes.
Right. India has over 120 million users, one of the largest retail bases in the world. But the government hits you with a flat 30% tax on gains, plus a 1% tax deducted on every single transaction.
That's significant.
It's designed to bring the industry firmly under the government's control, not necessarily to encourage its growth.
If we tie all these pieces together, what we're really seeing is that crypto and Web3, they're not just about trading. They're disrupting finance by enabling 247 markets, cutting cross-border payment costs.
And addressing financial inclusion, you have 1.7 billion people globally who are unbanked. This technology offers them a potential way into the financial system. The transformation is just accelerating.
So what does this all mean for you? If you're going to engage with this field, let's summarize the key takeaways from the blueprint. First, understanding the shift from institutional trust to mathematical trust. Second, the absolute necessity of rigorous self-custody. Guarding those private keys and seed phrases is priority number one.
And third, using discipline strategies like DCA and fundamental analysis through tokenomics, instead of just making emotional, speculative bets.
Right, and always remember, these are highly volatile speculative markets. Due diligence is essential.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, here's a final thought to leave you with, building on that tension we talked about between decentralization and state control. Crypto was born from this desire for censorship resistance, for financial sovereignty.
It's a challenge to central authority.
Exactly. But now you have over 25 countries, major economic blocs like the EU and China, actively piloting their own central bank digital currencies, CBDCs.
Which are the opposite of decentralized.
They are traceable, programmable, government-controlled digital money. So the real question is, how will the original ethos of peer-to-peer freedom and cryptographic sovereignty survive this massive global push for seamless integration and for centralized digital control? That tension between freedom and perfect trackability, that's the real battleground ahead.